A man in a cave. A spear wound healed over his ribs. A body studied for 50 years as the ultimate meat eater. And the whole time, cooked grain was hiding between his teeth. In 1960, in a cave in northern Iraq, archaeologists found him. He had been lying there for about 50,000 years. They gave him a name, though we'll never know what his own people called him. Shanidar III. An adult male, powerfully built, in his 40s, which, for a Neanderthal, is old age. His bones told the story of a hard life. A clean slice between the ribs from a stone blade or a thrown spear, partly healed over. Partly healed means he didn't die from it. He lived for weeks afterward, hurt, while someone kept him alive. For the next 50 years, Shanidar III was one of the most studied Neanderthals on Earth. That rib wound sparked decades of argument about violence and war. Did Neanderthals kill each other? Did we kill them? Beneath all the debates was one clear belief. This man, strong, rugged, an Ice Age hunter, lived on meat, red meat, and almost nothing else. The ultimate carnivore. He is the ancestor that the Paleo diet wants you to picture. This diet is built on the idea that your body was made for meat, fat, and the hunt, not for plants, grains, or anything that grows from the ground. Decades after he left the cave, someone finally looked at what earlier studies had discarded: the hardened plaque on his teeth, and the great meat eater had grain stuck between his molars. Cooked grain. For 50 years, we were certain we knew what this man ate. DNA and the food fossilized on his own teeth proved us wrong. That's one tooth, one man. The real story is far bigger. The Paleo diet has sold millions of books. Its promise is simple. Your body is a Stone Age machine. It's designed for meat and struggles with everything that came after farming: bread, milk, beans. Recent intruders your genome never agreed to. It sounded like hard science. Shanidar III is just the first witness to suggest the whole thing runs backward, and he is nowhere near the only one. To understand why, you must know the source of this evidence. For a long time, many believed the answer was lost forever. When a person dies, the soft record of what they ate vanishes fast. The last meal, the gut, the muscle, all of it decays within weeks. For most of archaeology's history, a skeleton could show you a person's age and cause of death, but it revealed little about what they ate. Diet was guesswork, dressed up as theory. 3 quiet revolutions changed that. The first is dental calculus. Plaque you don't brush away hardens into a cement-like crust. That crust traps microscopic debris from everything you chew, then fossilizes in place. Look closely under a microscope and you'll see starch grains, plant fibers, and pollen. These have been sealed for tens of thousands of years. A meal, frozen at the moment of the last bite. Researchers learned to read the shape of those starch grains the way a forensic analyst reads a fingerprint. A raw grain looks one way. A grain that's been ground and heated swells and cracks in a signature pattern. Under the lens, you can tell not just what someone ate, but that they cooked it. The second is stable isotope analysis. The carbon, nitrogen, and zinc in a person's bones and tooth enamel show a chemical signature of their diet. High up the food chain, eating mostly meat leaves one ratio. A diet heavy in plants leaves another. You don't need a written record. The body keeps the proof in its own chemistry. The third is the one that's about your own body. Long-read genetic sequencing helps scientists view a person's genes. It shows how many copies of each gene are grouped on the chromosome. In 2024, 2 teams focused on a specific part of human DNA, the AMYLASE locus. This area contains genes that produce the enzyme in your saliva that breaks down starch. They worked from 94 fully resolved genomes and DNA from around 5,600 ancient and living people. For 150 years, we thought the dead had nothing to tell us about food. Now, DNA science can tell us a story. Our ancestors left fragments of every meal behind, in their teeth, in their bones, in the genes they passed down to you. Science just had to learn the language. Finding 1. The genes in your mouth. Start with your own saliva. The paleo argument hinges on timing. Grains became part of the human diet about 10,000 years ago. This was when farming started. 10,000 years is a blink in evolutionary time, far too recent for your body to adapt. So your DNA, the argument runs, treats bread like a stranger. Scientists asked a simple question. When did the human body build the tool for digesting starch? The answer is the AMYLASE gene. The more copies you have, the more starch-digesting enzymes fill your saliva as soon as food touches your tongue. It's the body's dedicated machine for turning bread, roots, and grains into fuel. It starts working before you've even swallowed. If the paleo timeline is correct, that machine should be new, a recent addition, hardly tested by evolution. Researchers traced the AMYLASE locus in the genome. They found a 3-copy version of the gene. This version first appeared about 800,000 years ago. Long before farming and agriculture, humans had extra copies of the gene that helps digest starch. This was hundreds of thousands of years ago, long before the discordance began. This discordance refers to the mismatch paleo claims exists between ancient genes and modern food. Hunter-gatherers from 45,000 years ago had many different copies. Some people were stacked with them. Your spit had adapted to starch tens of thousands of years before anyone planted a single seed. For decades, the paleo diet told you the human body never had time to adapt to starch. DNA says otherwise. The adaptation was already old by the time the first Neanderthal walked into a cave. Finding 2. What was stuck in his teeth? Which brings us back to Shanidar 3. If anyone earned the title of pure carnivore, it was him and his kind. The ultimate Ice Age hunters who lived in a cold world with no farms in any direction for tens of thousands of years. And the chemistry seemed to seal it. For decades, scientists have found high nitrogen levels in Neanderthal bones. These levels were higher than those in wolves, hyenas, and almost all other meat-eaters around. By that number alone, Neanderthals weren't just carnivores. They sat at the very top of the food chain. However, nitrogen only tells you where your protein comes from. It doesn't say much about the rest of your meal. And the rest of the meal was hiding in the plaque. Researchers examined the hardened plaque on Shanidar 3's teeth. They found 73 starch grains. Different Neanderthal teeth were found at Spy Cave in Belgium. This discovery links to a different climate, far away. There are also 136 additional findings. And these weren't random specks of dust. Many belong to the grass family, which includes wild ancestors of wheat and barley. Paleo diets claim that no one was eating these exact grains. There were date palms, there were legumes, beans. The food group the paleo diet bans outright. 15 of the grains from Shanidar carried the swollen, cracked signature of cooking. This man, this so-called apex predator, studied for 50 years as pure carnivore, hadn't just eaten wild grain. He'd cooked it first. So had the Neanderthals in Belgium, in a completely separate world. For decades, the paleo diet has claimed that grains and legumes were not part of our ancestors' diet. It said these foods were hard for our bodies to digest. DNA and the plaque on Shanidar III's molars say otherwise. The poster child for the all-meat past had cooked cereal stuck in his teeth. Finding 3. The 30,000-year-old flour. Maybe you grant the Neanderthals a little grain here and there, a handful when the hunting failed. The Paleo line offers a fallback. Wild grains were a survival food, gathered only when no better options existed. Nobody, the claim goes, was making anything you'd recognize as bread. Then archaeologists looked at the stones. They found grinding tools dating to about 30,000 years ago at 3 sites in Europe: Bilancino in Italy, Kostenki in Russia, and Pavlov in the Czech Republic. Flat stones had smaller stones worked across them. They were scarred in the same way a grindstone wears down from heavy, repeated use. And clinging to those surfaces, sealed in the residue, were starch grains. Flour. The roots of cattails and ferns dug up, dried, and ground into powder. The raw material for flatbread was available 20,000 years before anyone invented farming. The same practice shows up across the whole continent in 3 distant places using the same technology. Grinding plants into flour was common in Stone Age kitchens. This craft was passed down through generations, leaving a similar mark from Italy to Russia. For decades, the Paleo diet claimed that grains were a last resort. It suggested that our ancestors only ate them when meat was scarce. DNA and the fossilized flour on a stone say otherwise. Ice Age humans were baking long before any farmer planted a field. Finding 4. The rotten teeth. If hunter-gatherers ate so much starch, their bodies should show it. The Paleo diet promises this: eat like the ancients, avoid carbs, and you can dodge modern health issues. Cavities, the rotting of teeth, are supposed to be diseases caused by bread and sugar. Visit Tafaralt, a cave in the Moroccan hills. You can see the teeth of people buried there 15,000 years ago, thousands of years before agriculture reached North Africa. As paleo as it gets. Researchers examined 52 sets of adult teeth from that site. More than half were riddled with cavities, 51%. A decay rate you'd see in a modern population addicted to sugar, sitting in the mouths of Stone Age foragers. What rotted their teeth wasn't bread. It was acorns and pine nuts, gathered by the basketful, stored and eaten as a staple. Sweet, starchy, sticky plant food. They ate it so much that it wore holes in their enamel. The isotopes in their bones confirmed it. These people leaned heavily on plants, not meat. For decades, the Paleo diet claimed that cavities and carb-heavy eating are modern problems from the post-farming era. DNA, isotopes, and a mouthful of rotten Stone Age teeth say otherwise. Your ancestors were drowning in carbs, and they paid for it with their teeth, long before anyone ever planted a crop. Finding 5. The living answer. But you don't even have to dig. Some people on Earth still live as our ancestors did. They are true hunter-gatherers. They hunt with bows and gather food by hand. There are no farms or supermarkets in their lives. The Paleo movement loves to point at them. So let's actually look. The Hadza of Tanzania are among the most studied foraging people in the world. Researchers checked what people really eat. The results broke the whole premise. About 65% of their calories come from carbohydrates, not meat. Carbs, wild tubers dug from the dirt, fruit, and above all, honey. Show the Hadza photos of every food they eat, ask them to rank them, and honey comes out on top. The single most prized food in a living hunter-gatherer society is pure sugar. Honey makes up about 15 to 20% of their diet. This might be an underestimate because they often eat it directly from the hive in the bush well before it gets to camp. The lean, meat-heavy forager at the heart of the paleo fantasy doesn't exist out there. The real one is up a tree, chasing a beehive. The paleo diet has long claimed that eating like a hunter-gatherer means focusing on meat, fat, and very few carbs. DNA and the people still living that life say otherwise. The closest thing we have to a real Stone Age diet is built on sugar and starch. The big picture. Here's where it stops being about food at all. Every finding so far chips away at a detail. The grains, the flour, the cavities, the honey. But the paleo diet rests on something deeper than any single food. It rests on one core belief: that the human genome is frozen. That evolution stopped at the end of the Stone Age. Now, you have a body made for a world that no longer exists. That's the core claim, and it's the one ancient DNA has most completely demolished. Let's go back to the AMYLASE gene. The extra copies are ancient, but the story doesn't end there. When farming spread and starch flooded the human diet, the number of copies kept climbing. In European farming populations, the gene with extra copies has become more common over the last 4,000 years. The body was retooling itself in real time to squeeze more fuel from grain. Then there's milk, the other great paleo villain. For most of human history, no adult could digest it. Adults can drink milk because of a single genetic switch. This change is one of the fastest spreading in the human genome over the last 10,000 years. It appeared after people started keeping animals, not before. The most likely reason it swept through populations so fast wasn't comfort, but survival. Milk was a clean source of calories and water during famine and disease. Those who drank it survived, while those who didn't perished. Think about what that means. A new food entered the human diet, and the genome rewrote itself, hard and fast, to handle it. The exact thing the paleo diet says is impossible is written into the DNA of every person who can finish a glass of milk without a second thought. And it's not just two genes. When researchers scanned your DNA for signs of recent evolution, they didn't find one fossil. They discovered many genetic changes, over 400 in Western Eurasia alone. All these occurred in the last 10,000 years. Better defenses against disease, new colors for skin, hair, and eyes, and changes in fat storage and food breakdown. Evolution didn't slow down when farming began, it sped up. For decades, the paleo diet has told you your body is a Stone Age relic, frozen in time, mismatched to the modern world. DNA says otherwise, and it says it loud. Your body isn't a museum piece, it's a draft that's still being edited, rewritten by every diet your ancestors survived. The farm didn't break your genome, it bent it. So where does that leave the paleo diet? The honest answer is that the thing it's named for never existed. There was no single Stone Age menu. A forager in Ice Age Russia ground cattail flour. A man in a Moroccan cave ate so many acorns that his teeth rotted. Today, a Hadza hunter ranks honey as the best food. And Shanidar III cooked wild grain in Iraq 50,000 years ago. None of these people ate the same way. The ancestral diet was never one diet. It was thousands of them, shaped by whatever the land offered, and the human body adapted to all of it. That's the story written in the calculus, the bone, and the gene. Not a lost paradise of meat we fell from, a species that has always eaten whatever it could find and rebuilt itself to do it even better. The paleo diet asked a good question: what did we evolve to eat? It got the answer exactly backward. We didn't evolve for one narrow diet and then betray it. We evolved to adapt. Bread and milk aren't the things that broke us, but proof of how fast we can change. The Stone Age body the Paleo diet promised you was never frozen. It was always becoming something new. The AMYLASE gene rewrote your mouth. Lactase rewrote your gut. But maybe the most stubborn myth about the ancestral diet isn't buried in a cave in Iraq. It's standing on the deck of a longship. In the next video, we picture the Vikings as we pictured Shanidar III. They are raiders who lived on roasted meat and brute strength with nothing green in sight. Researchers scraped plaque from Viking teeth to analyze the chemistry locked in their bones. What they discovered changes everything you know about the men who terrorized much of Europe. That's the next story on this channel, and trust me, you do not want to miss it. When the Viking video drops, it will change how you see history.